A very good morning to all of you and a warm welcome. For anybody who's attending from outside India, hello, from whatever time zone you may be. And welcome, right? You are spending your precious 45 minutes to 1 hour of time with us, and that clearly indicates that you're reasonable bit curious. Some of you may be serious enough. Some of you are, somewhere looking for a little bit of guidance, to really jump in. So that's what this orientation is about. I'm Shweta Gupta. I'm with Digital Vidya. I am the Vice President with the Technology Trainings. As my background, I'm 20 years IT professional, of which 14 of them were with IBM. So I've pretty much done started my career with coding in C, networking protocols, and then in the last few years, I was a solution architect with our e-commerce division. So primarily working with the likes of eBOF and DMart in India, and the others outside India in implementing software solutions. So what is my journey with Digital Vidya? After that long haul corporate career, I was very keen in working where my impact could be a little more personal and reachable, and that's what's got me to Digital Vidya, right? So if you look at it very clearly, the mission with which we want to run our education programs are in making sure that people in the industry are able to reskill, or as you are doing your jobs, you're able to enhance yourself, right? And having done that several times in my own career and mentored many people within my organization, I think it's a lot of value and passion which I do this with, right? So what we'll do in the next 30 minutes, we will do a little bit of, very basic understanding, and move on to looking at a few industry examples. And then we will dive into how, there is the data analytics industry, we'll understand it. But what does it mean for us? How do we start gearing up to be part of this industry, right? That's what we'll kind of close in with. So data analytics, right? Very clearly, we all have seen there's been a surge in data, and data has been called out as the new gold or the new oil, basically the natural resource, which as it sits unmined, right, does not have value. But the moment it is mined, it has tremendous value, right? And how do you, when we say mine gold, we know what it means, right? You polish it, you make jewelry, or you keep it into some form where you can exchange it, right? So what does it mean by mining the data? So it basically means you inspect it, you clean it, because when anytime you pick up raw data, it would need work. You transform, and then you model it. So when we use the word model, what does it mean? Basically, we change its shapes in a way that we are able to extract value out of it, right? So discovering useful information, and once we have made that discovery, right, and this itself is a process, and it's a very, very interesting piece of work which people who love playing with data would want to do. And then once you have this ready work done, then you really move into the next phase where you're able to draw conclusions, right, make predictions, and therefore support decision making in an organization, right? So this is, as we think of data analytics and industry, sometimes we seem to overuse the word, in the sense we think it is something else. But if you look at it, it is really, really what we have seen a number of times since we were young. And if you look at it, the two examples which will stand out, would be A, cricket, right? All of us, for any match, we would see that there's so much statistics which is played out by our commentators, by the, in the pre-section, in the post-discussion. There's a lot of information. So the statistics part, which and there's a lot, obviously a lot of back-end work which goes on to present that data up front. So some of us may have been consciously and be aware of how and what it is being presented, or some of us may just absorb it, right? Similarly, the other aspect of elections, and especially in the last 5 years or maybe 10 years, and in the last couple of years, and the elections which are happening now, we see that the data is so much transfused from the way the social, the polls, earlier it was one transaction polls, but there are just so many different ways for the citizens to express, and therefore to be able to collate that information and present. That's happening all over the world, right? It happens in our elections in our country, it happens in US, French elections, UK Brexit, right? Everywhere you will see a lot of statistics in place. So I also want you to look a little bit around the industry, and the reason I'm starting with this outside view, the industry view, because I want you all to be able to think that is this the kind of problems you want to be working and you want to be solving, right? And get excited about it. So if I'm sure many of us are very regular users of the cab industry, right? Maybe Uber or Ola, and then the reason why that industry is doing so well and why customers love it, because of a lot of innovation and work which has happened. And if you look at Uber, and especially in the big cities, you will see all that surge pricing, placing it at the right place. So basically, all that is happening because using data, they are able to analyze where the search is, where there is an event happening, where, in that locality, now there is no event, right? How to place their traffic around. It's extremely, extremely important to continuously doing and removing any anomalies, and therefore their recommendation and the prediction needs to work right? E-commerce industry, again, an industry where all of us use, whether it is Amazon or a Flipkart or a Big Basket, right? We know that when we're searching for certain items, to be able to get those results right, to be able to get those recommendations right, is very, very important for us as consumers. Otherwise, there's a lot of time we may spend, but we may not move towards an order and an order basket. So that's something which all the e-commerce companies need to be moving in. I wanted to use an example of something like in the healthcare industry, which, to everybody, it may not sound as sensible to understand, right? Because it's a topic from somewhere else. But if you would look at it as consumers, we all want our medicines to be safer and safer. And the way the molecular activity of a medication works is that it will behave the way the researchers want it to work, right? And there will be certain molecules and elements of it which will work in a way it will not. So for researchers, it's a huge thing that they are able to uncover those and make sure that in the process of that research, and then finally in creating that in creating that particular chemical, all these aspects are taken care of. And it's a very, very hard science, one can imagine, and there is strong work happening there, right? So Merck is one of the example of companies, and most of the pharma companies are doing it. Finance has been, for again one of those examples where forever has been happening, whether it is how do they reach out for loans, or how do they do fraud analytics. These are the aspects which finance industry pretty much started way ahead the other industries did, right? Manufacturing, the whole operational cost is one of the highest costs, and everybody wants to understand that how using the machine data one is able to reduce those failures, because that's the bulk of the cost, right? So we clearly understand, let me summarize what we did. We're seeing that the data is exploding, right? Why the data is the new natural resource is because data is exploding, and all of us are contributors of it, right? I mean, everybody, I'm sure, in this platform, 10 years before the data, 5 years before, and last 3 years, we know how exponentially it is contributing, and it is not coming down, right? Very clearly, every age group, every industry is contributing to data and is consuming data much more rapidly. So we understood that, and then we saw a few examples of how industries are using it. And we are all curious to understand that, we want to be data analysts. We want to be part of this very, very interesting age of data, right? You don't want to miss the bus. So what does our journey look like? And here what I would do, I want to understand a little bit from this audience, right? We have some 35 folks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a poll, right? Could you help choose where do you sit in these expectations? And it's all about data, because this is going to help me guide how do I talk for the next 15-20 minutes, right? So don't be shy. It's a simple vote, and we need to make sure it's value for everybody. So please go ahead and let us know that where do you see yourself right now. I will give it another count of 5 because I see some people are maybe thinking or hesitating, right? I don't see 100% vote coming in. Or maybe there isn't a none of the above and you're shying. So 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. And we will now close the poll. And let's look at the results. Okay, so we have a pretty good mix, right? So we have the programmers who are job seekers, and we have very tiny bit of programmers who are non-job seekers. Then we have non-programmer who are job seekers, and then we have non-programmers who are non-job seekers. Oh, there are none, rather. Sorry. So actually the bulk is looking at the top 2 of job seeker, and which makes a lot of sense, because when people explicitly come in to learn, it's often the case. And so as we go forward, I am going to now talk a little bit about programmer and non-programmer, both aspects of it, right? Okay, so let me jump in to explain the evolution of data analytics, right? How it happened, what has happened. And for all the non-programmers here, I want you to really hang on and listen to this, right? I come from the computer science IT industry, and I have interacted with programmers for a long, long life, right? However, as you start to do consulting, right, and working with customers and really work with business, that is where it flips, right? The developer side of us as programmers versus understanding the business value of it. And all of you here in the audience who are non-programmers, you're the ones who are working in certain business in certain domain, and your data best, right? There's nobody else. There's no programmer who can come and tell you that I know your domain, right? They will come and tell you that you tell us the business problem, you tell us, you give us insights on your domain, and we will be able to apply some technology to solve it for you, right? Now, what has happened is, because of the power of tools and data, there is a lot which you can do yourself, because you know the domain, you have the data, and you are the one who should be able to do something and make decisions. So this is one field, the data analytics field, which is really, really heavily centric for all functional roles. It is not only a IT programmer domain, right? So let's look at the evolution. So, on this slide, I'm going to cover two things. I'm going to cover the roles, and I'm going to cover the technology landscape, right? And bear with me, I'll spend the next 5 minutes. I'll take a little bit of time on this chart, right? So if you look at it, when data in 1900s, early 1900s started, there were mathematicians and statisticians in research divisions and typically universities who were solving problems, right? So what it means that there was agriculture data coming in, or I mean, a lot of it was that, or there's the finance data coming in. Statisticians were coming, exploring that data, applying their regressions and their models, and really doing predictions. So it was all the field of statisticians. That was it was for a long time. And that continued, I would say, till 50s, 60s, and 70s. And when the firms, they started to see that there's this domain of business analysts, where people who know the business side of it really understand the domain, and they were the ones who were using data, and they may be going with data to the statisticians and to these technical folks who would then help them derive value out of the data so that they can take their business forward through data, right? So that was the domain of business analysts. As the data grew, and now the statisticians and the mathematicians were joined by the software community and the domain community, because now the software tools enabled a lot more people to leverage the data, and the data had exploded, so it was not possible that this same small community continues to derive value. So this data analysts, this got born, and this happened in the last decade or in the last 5 years, and more in the last 2 to 3 years, right? So as we're moving towards data scientists, what we are basically saying is that we have these domain knowledge, we have the technical knowledge, the tooling knowledge, right? And we know our stats and maths so that we are applying the right models. Now, how much of it, what of it, because obviously we are seeing that people are not statisticians and mathematicians, so the expectation and the tooling has to change that, right? And then, of course, because the explosion of data, if it is too huge and humongous, our traditional machines and computers is not going to cut it for us, and therefore a huge big data technology field, right? You're still applying those same concepts. However, the landscape has changed. The data from here has become here, like almost unlimited at times. So that's how what has changed. So one could be in any of these roles right now, but where you are really looking to be is between here, the business analyst, data analyst, data scientist. And if you're really core technologists, then you're looking to move to big data. Having these skills is very key, right? Because you could learn the technologies of big data, but if you are not making a foundation and brushing up your stats, because statistics has been, besides the statisticians and mathematicians, right? Stats has been something we only studied in our school, and some people did in their graduation, but we really weren't applying it, right? So, but when we're looking at data analytics, something we need to refresh it, right? We don't need to remember all those formulas and solve it by hand, but we need to understand it. Now, you can look at the technology landscape, and this is extremely interesting, right? Because a lot of you will have this question in your mind what to do, and the decision has to be yours eventually, right? I'm going to help you with very specific pointers to help you make that decision, but those decision needs to be yours. And all of the technologies and all the courses we are forming now is because these are being used, right? So very clear. SAS, it's amazing. 1960s it was born, right? When IBM mainframe COBOL at the same time, because the statisticians were starting to look at data, and especially agri and finance data. that was, and healthcare had started to come in, right? However, obviously, it was in the 80s, 90s when the SAS software really started incubating more recent algorithms, more newer technology needs. So it really evolved. But SAS as a software has stood by time, and today in the 2017, most of the finance, insurance, healthcare, pharma, all those industries continues to bet on SAS because it's such an advanced, mature system for these, especially for these industries where data privacy, it's important and critical, and modeling is, extremely advanced. So very, very important software, and continues to rule some of these industries, right? Now, if you look at Excel, so many of us may have not cared and thought about Excel, but so many of us would have realized the value of it, right? And especially, people who are in different functional domains, we know that, whether you are working with inventory data, whether you're in the customer care, your marketing, your sales, your supply chain, logistics, any of these fields function, you cannot function without your data, and most likely the data is going to sit in Excel. So born in 80s and going very, very solid and strong with very interesting plugins and tools available for things like statistics, where you're able to apply your correlation, covariation, linear regressions, a lot of different pivot tables analysis, right? And I'll continue to talk a little bit of Excel. There was a survey conducted by Orally. So Orally, I know the programmers will be familiar, but for everybody, it's a publishing firm which does a lot of technology publications, right? So Orally conducted a survey in late 2016, and it published results in 2017, right? I'm not talking about old data, I'm talking about current data. And this was carried out in Europe, so data is from Europe. They covered some 1,000+ data analysts, and they asked various questions: what kind of work you're doing, what kind of roles you're doing, what kind of tools you're using. And Excel was on top of the tool that is being used, right? So very clearly, Excel is here to stay, because all your problems don't need to go and solve by advanced machine learning. A lot of problems can be solved using Excel. And we have designed a wonderful program called Analytic Techniques using Excel, Power BI, SQL, so that you know how your data sits and you know how to work on it, right? So, and this program has been designed keeping this in mind, that analytics is not only for software programmers. Rather, it is deep-seated into the people who are functional, right? Now, then let's look into R, right? What is R? So what happened was, SAS became this very, very, high matured industry tool. However, a lot of these researchers and mathematicians and statisticians who were doing research, small researchers and doing some interesting modeling, they needed something which is more open source and easy to play with, right? And that is where our programming language got born, right? It is born out of statisticians and mathematicians. It is not a general purpose programming language, right? It is not something that any programmer will learn to do anything in the world. It is specifically there. So now what you can imagine, the libraries are extremely advanced for the use of R, for use of data analytics, right? Then came Python Pandas. So Python, for all the programmers here, we know it's a general purpose programming language, very easy and quick scripting, has a lot of advantages, became popular because one of the most contributors to it as open source. And as we saw that more computer engineers, right, as the CS started to come in and become part of the data analytics industry, it was a natural trend that you needed a more general purpose programming language with programmers knew. And that's how Python came in. And because of this open source community, very swift development, people coming in and writing machine learning and, all the other pandas, obviously the entire data slicing work, and then Scikit, the entire machine learning algorithm. So, it's being developed very, very rapidly. So it's becoming strong taker for the CS community. And then, as I said, the moment your data becomes large, you need certain technologies that are specific to handle the largeness of the data. right, is the size of the data. And the size of the data, and because you want to do now real-time processing, you want to do some batch processing, a lot of things came up. So the entire Hadoop infrastructure came up, and Spark, which uses Scala, R, Python, or Java as programming language. These are the big data technologies. But eventually, your concepts of machine learning and statistics need to be formed, right? So I'll come back to this. So let me just continue talking a little bit on the skills. So I talked about, statistics is something which we may not have loved. Some of us may have, but most of us may not have loved, because especially the formula and sitting and solving them. The good thing is we don't have to worry about that now, because clearly the Excel add-in of data analysis, the programming language libraries, they're going to do the work for us. However, it is very important that we understand the concepts and the theory. We must understand hypothesis. We must understand linear regression, and we make sure in our course we teach it really, really well, well, as we'll teach you to apply. Because once you learn that and you see how to apply it, it becomes really practical for you, right? And that's when you'll enjoy it. Because we don't want to repeat the mistake which we did in our schooling, right? That we learn it, but because we don't know how to apply it, it really, doesn't become that enjoyable to a lot of people, right? Because there will be always a few people who would love it and take it forward, but that is how we want to make sure, right? So in terms of data science skills, I want to look at, so this is a little bit of textual summary, but I want you to look at the visual diagram. I really like this diagram. It was created in 2013 by Drew Conway, who is, this was part of another O'Reilly conference in New York. And they were kind of brainstorming in scenes what it really means by data science. And then they have put these three circles up. And if you look at it, hacking skills, why is it called hacking skills? Because data doesn't sit for you ready that, okay, here I am, draw value out of me. No, you need a lot of work. So here hacking doesn't mean a negative hacking. It doesn't mean that you're looking at data which is not supposed to be looked at, which doesn't follow privacy guidelines. No, all it means is that data would be in all different formats, and you need to acquire it correctly, you need to clean it correctly. So you require those skills, and then you need your math and stats, and then you need your domain knowledge, right? And as you groom all of them, that's when you become data science, right? And it says that you are in danger zone if you just know how to do this and you know how to do this, but you don't know how to apply, right programming models to it, right? So that's pretty much what we have listed here. So what do we do in the courses which we offer from Digital Vidya, right? We make sure that your 101 is clear, right? You are there, you don't feel lost, you don't get scared of stats anymore. Right? Programming skills. So for the non-programmers, as we said, we have designed a beautiful program analytic techniques. For rest of you, we have the offering in SAS, right? We have your offering in R and offering in Python, right? All three of them available to you, and based on where you are, where your skills lay, right? Are you primarily somebody who wants to come into R because you have you're not programmer, but you're really looking into doing this as a very serious work, right? And then if you're programmers, you do Python, and if you belong to industries which are around finance, healthcare, pharma, insurance, SAS is your way, because there's just so much demand for SAS folks. And the fact that you're starting now, you're going to be at the edge, because skills are a lot in demand. People are still learning it. So the sooner you learn, the sooner you apply, and the more experience you gain, right, you're going to be ahead in the industry. Right? Obviously, soft skills, domain knowledge, this is something which we try to teach as part of the way we've formulated our course, right? Collaborative learning, discussion forums. We really encourage you to do all those things. However, I would not kind of claim that we do it, as a separate thing. We don't really teach the soft skills part as part of course, but we cover the top things. Right. So let me just give a quick life cycle glance, I've talked about data analytics and what it meant. So when I said the definition, pretty much, the definition of inspecting, collecting data, you see the data collection part, right? This is where you're collecting data. Then you are actually doing some exploratory analysis because you need to understand that data first. Once you understand that data, only then you are ready to now apply some insights into it. And then you're looking at some actions, either is it predictive or it is prescriptive, what kind of value is going to come out of it. And that's how you're going to impact the business problem where you started, right? And this you'll be able to map with the other Venn diagram and the skills I saw, because you need to apply all that here. And this is in each of these phases. I've given a little bit of example for you to understand that why don't shy away with stats, because the way we teach you, you will learn it. And how for designing and interpreting experiments while you are exploring your data, you do, you build some hypothesis, whether you say that, that hypothesis is true, or you come up with an alternate hypothesis and you prove that it is false, right? Hypothesis is basically making a statement and saying that, yes, I know that a customer who is buying with us every month is going and is high value purchase, when we do this particular campaign, is going to make use of that campaign, right? That's a hypothesis. Whether you prove it false or you true, that's how you kind of go ahead and do your work. Then you build your models, and then you right, using regression, you do classification, so things like this, and then you do insights, and then you build actions using predictive modeling, collaborative filtering. Collaborative filtering is what you see, right, all the time when you're shopping on Flipkart and Amazon. You see recommendation engine, right? So that is where you do stats and data analytics. So what I'm going to do, I want to take your questions, and I want to check where you are with this. Right, so I have a poll running, and I'm looking at your questions, and I'm going to start addressing them. So keep typing your questions now, and you can wait to answer your question if you do the poll, if you're still waiting for me to respond to your question. But if you think you have got it, I have kind of addressed what you came for, feel free to go ahead and take the poll. Okay. Dhaval, is the question is still there? Then can you please rephrase it, because it's kind of generic. What about data analytics? Okay, so I hope, Anbarasan, that you were able to see the presentation. Sumit asks, could you please throw some light on Tableau? Right. So Tableau is a very, very popular business intelligence tool. Now, what it means by business intelligence tool is basically people who have been using Excel always, you would know that once you have your data, you have a lot of different form, charts and visuals to visualize that data, right? To see it. And the moment you see some data in a visual form, the insights become much more easy to grasp. Because if somebody says, you take a poll, for instance, and if I don't see, a summary and a graph out of it, I won't be able to make any sense of it, right? So the moment I visually see, it becomes very, 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 very relevant to me. Now, Tableau is one of those business intelligence tools which is very popular, and we offer it to, in all our courses. I think it is based on when you register with us. So, as you close your, as you work with our technical consultant and sign in and register for a course, you will get that option. So we do an introduction to Tableau for everybody, because it's a popular tool used by a lot of people. Once you have done your data, you can pretty much import data from everywhere in Tableau, right? Excel sheet, SQL queries, Salesforce, SAP, a lot of inputs, and then you can just quickly visualize them. So it's a very good tool for somebody who is not working with data before, but is just going to visualize. Okay. Sumit, does that answer your question? Okay, I have a question. I'm MBA Finance. Please guide which is suited for me. Right. So, if you're really looking to do a lot of analysis using Excel, right? Analytic techniques using Excel, Power BI, and then Tableau should be sufficient for a lot of it. But if you want to get in then into more machine learning, advanced, huge data, which doesn't fit it necessarily into Excel, then you want to get into more a tool like SAS, because finance industry uses it leveraged hugely, right? So it really depends upon where you want to be situated in. So once you move into software, then really you're applying deeper stuff into it. Whereas using your domain knowledge of finance, using your MBA, and using your the analytic techniques using Excel, you'll be able to leverage a lot of power to it, right? You'll be able to apply from in 2 to 3 weeks. Once you start your learning, you'll be able to apply things which you weren't doing before, right? So you have experience in MIS, right? So and therefore, as I said, analytic techniques, it does help you that you know where your data resides. You're able to pull it into Excel, into Power BI, and do the right things. But of course, there is SAS if you think you're ready to jump into really the advanced machine learning, because there is a stats package in Excel. So you have to know that how much deep you want to do that. So Excel gives you fairly good and advanced stuff, but it doesn't allow you to program as extensively as, say, a SAS software will do, because that is meant for a statistical modeling, versus Excel is general purpose with a lot of advanced utilities. So that's the differentiation you have to be thinking of. Have knowledge on SQL database and T-SQL. Which kind of analytic course would be good for you? So, with SQL database, especially if you are, if you're a programmer, I don't know if you can indicate, are you a programmer? You may want to pick up R or Python based on, if you're a programmer, you may want to pick up Python, because what would happen is that, SQL knowledge will always continue to be used to pull data. And then after pulling data, you want to do things with it, right? And Python, R, all these languages have a pretty strong SQL library. So if you are strong in SQL, what you would do is you would use the libraries which work on SQL to do then the next advanced work. Because just using SQL, you can do a lot of analytics on data. But again, as I said, you can't do advanced machine learning stuff, right? So either of the programming languages you can pick up. 8 years experience in data warehouse testing. So you're pretty much very comfortable with SQL. So if you want to jump into being a programmer, pick up R or Python. But if you want to look, based on the industry, you may want to jump into SAS. So I think, Rohit, you can decide where you want to take your next career in, because you understand data in a lot of ways, right? So you're good with it. You know how to bring insights from data, because data warehousing, you have learned how to bring data together from a lot of places. So that's a positive, and you can decide where to go. There's a question, as per what I heard, SAS is mostly used in domains that I do not have exposure. And you said you do not teach domain knowledge. How should person with in IT administration look at career in analytics? Excellent question. Yeah, so I think this is very interesting, right? Domain knowledge is something which, we do a few projects. You will, like in SAS, you will do some fraud analytic project. But if you're willing to go ahead and in parallel start learning about a domain, it will be very beneficial for you to pick up a tool like SAS, right? If you don't come from as much programming and you come from IT administration and infrastructure experience, that would be an excellent software tool to pick up. But if you're willing to jump into programming, I would say pick up Python, because you'll be able to do a lot of your IT operation stuff using Python, and then learn any of the domain you want to jump in. So I would say you decide, right? Because sometimes, those domain knowledges, if you think you have interest, you can start reading papers and start, discussing with your finance friends, and, maybe, do a few, online course on it, and you can get there. But if you think you don't want to get into really those domains, then pick up R or Python if you're willing to be a programmer, right? That's very, very important. You have to be willing to jump into programming and stats. You can do a lot of data analytics without getting to deep machine learning, because a lot of initial prep phases need that. But then to grow into it, you will need it very clearly. Okay. I want to learn data analysis, Python, R, and Tableau. Can you guide me? Sure. So I would say start with one, right? Doing multiple programming languages together is not recommended to anybody. I would certainly not recommend it. You pick up one, you do it, you focus on it, 4 months of learning, then, 2 to 3 months, do a lot of different projects, on Kaggle. We will show you the different open data source platforms where you can really build your skills, demonstrate your skills, and then you pick up your next tool when you think, you want to, because a lot of industries use multi-skills, so you may want to reskill yourself, another one, you go for a double package with Digital Vidya in such a way that you can take 2 courses, but at one time, really, really focus that you get the concepts of data analytics, you learn through one language. After that, it is just about picking up a different language. Your basics will be all done. You will know that for data analytics, first you need to clean the data, you need to prep the data, you need to slice and dice the data, you need to explore the data, then you need to get into, all that concepts will be clear in your first way. Then it's really very quickly picking up the next language. Okay, I hope that I answer your question. What is the difference between data analytics and data scientists? So as I said, I myself was struggling because these terms were used a lot together, and I love the way Don Crew, as I showed you that Venn diagram, has explained the difference, and what it says that as you start your journey, and that is the reason actually we call our course data analytics and not data scientists, right? Because when you start, you'll be learning the tools, the technologies, how to apply stats 101. You're getting all this right, and once you start applying it, you start learning a particular domain, because it's very important to draw that exploratory analysis and next step on your data. So as you start to gain that experience, that is when it's your journey into data scientist. And that's where somewhere you feel, okay, I know this, when I have this data, I have the tools and skills, I can do it, right? So a lot of people could call this course data science, right? If you go out and look in the world, there is no very clear differentiation. But I personally would say that you don't want, I would not want to call myself a data scientist till, I have my tools, technologies, and I'm applied it to a domain, and, I feel very confident about it. Okay. Can you cover data visualization tools, Quiliq, and Tableau, right? So data visualization, there are like 15, 20 tools, Renu, and that's why, I don't really like to cover them. I have a chart which is like crazy BI tools, and if once you do analytic techniques, we actually, before we start Power BI, we do give you a view that, these are the 10 tools, like, Quiliq, then there is dashboard, then there is Power, there's breadboard, right? There are a lot of these tools which are popular in the market, but the basics of it, what you have to understand is how to get in data. You have to know the different charts and visualization methods, and then most of these tools will provide you those tools. So you have to use them and do your work, right? So as far as you learn one tool and the concepts and the fundamentals, you can pretty much pick up any tool. Right? Because it's like, once you learn to use Microsoft Word, whether you move to Max Word, which is, Pages, or whether you move to, Google's, the share, the word share, that anything you use, you can use the software, because now you know that, you typically expect the toolbar to have all those features and capabilities, right? I want to learn data analytics, but don't know what to learn in it. Like, should I go for SAS or R or Python? To give background, I'm postgrad in physics graduated. My priority is to get a job in this field. Right. So I think my answer a little bit stays the same. I understand, you're graduate in physics. So with that, I would think that, you can, if you're willing to pick up a programming language like R, right, which is, as I said, born out of statisticians and mathematicians. If you think that's something which you want to pick up, how much, to be honest, physics is something I did in my high school only. So uh, I wouldn't know that how much it would align. Or if you want to focus on domain where as a physicist you work, right? In that case, picking a software tool like SAS is also very good. So you need to kind of decide if you're willing to. So to make a career, how much are you going to put into programming? Right? So that is what will, Ashwin, help you decide. And we can definitely have a more one-to-one discussions, right? Once you work with that technical consultant team, and if you have any specific questions, we take them and we have to solve, because right now we are in an open platform. We may not be able to get to an individual's entire profile for more than a few minutes. But we definitely have that opportunity, because we understand that as each individual, each of us want to understand based on our profile, based on our strength, what do we do? So that conversation would happen. ETL developer, which tool would you recommend for data science or a Python? So ETL developer, I would say you probably will be pretty proficient with a few scripting languages, and pick up Python, because Python is general purpose. You'll be doing, besides using the main data analytics libraries, that is, NumPy, Pandas, Scikit, you'll be able to use a lot of different libraries to do your, ETL work. Okay? So I would say go for Python. Based on current data science industry, which one is better, SAS or R? So as I said, if I thought that one of them is not doing, we wouldn't put together a course, right? Because if somebody is doing a course, it's obviously for the next many years you want to learn. So all our, and inside working with industry, working with people, who are our educators, we are creating industry affiliates. We very clearly see that all these are being used. Right? So I don't know how else to answer this question, because to be honest, if I thought it wasn't doing, I would not have it as an option. I would immediately withdraw it, right? They are being used. Whether the transition is possible, then what shall be the processes? Everybody needs experience, then how can hire who's just trained with 8 years of different experience? Yeah, so I think reskilling and hiring can be a very, very interesting question, right? It depends how and where we're working. So sometimes if somebody comes in with a strong domain knowledge and has recently learned tools and techniques to apply it, that is the reason why, I would take that person in to do that work, right? Now, the other thing is, I don't know any of it. Now, how do we do? So I have to be really able to demonstrate, because there is shortage of skills and you're looking for people. So people who are able to demonstrate that with their learning, they have done enough work. And that is the reason there are platforms like Kaggle, Kaggle. Please go and read it up. That is data scientist open platforms. And we work with you and encourage you that, right into the 4 or 5 weeks of learning, you start working on that, because in the next few months, if you're able to build a strong profile of yours, having done actual, work there with data which is published there, you do data analytics work, and you clearly show that you're there to do it, even though you have recently learned it. There is skills in there's a skill gap in the market. Clearly, people need those skills. So if you learn it and you demonstrate it, you're there. You're there to go, and then you grow yourself very rapidly. Okay, Priyanka, I see you couldn't hear me, so you're repeating the question. You're a mechanical engineer. How would it be to do data analytics with R or Python? So Priyanka, in your engineering, did you do any kind of programming? If you have and you intend to do a lot of programming in your life along with being a data analytics, pick up Python. But if you want to hardcore say that my career is going to be pure of a data scientist, R is an excellent thing. You pick up that one language which is meant only for data scientists, right? So you decide for yourself if you want to be a multi-purpose programmer or you only want to become a data scientist. What tools you recommend for highly volatile commodities? So I would say that R and Python both are very, very applicable, because if you go and look at data sets, right from data sets which are around e-commerce, how the basket works, how much history it creates, or Uber like cab industry, they all use R and Python. So maybe you'll have to give me a little bit more, Mrinal, on high volatile commodities. Maybe give me an example. But yeah, from what I understand from the industries I know, this is what I would say. Should I go for Power BI? Right. So Divya, with finance, your question, I think yes, analytic techniques using Excel and Power BI could be a very, very strong tool for you, where right from the third week you'll start seeing value of it. So go through the course curriculum, go through the brochure, see how much do you believe you already have strength in, and how much do you think you would need to learn. Right? That's what I would ask you to do. The next question is, what are the job prospects of data analysts? Do they ask for hardcore programmers from IITs and IITs? Sumit, the industry stays the same, right? For any of the programmers or non-programmers, everybody produces them, right? The IIT and IIMs have been around for a length of time, and the skills they are producing versus the skills which everybody in this is producing, it comes under the same domain. Now, there are some companies for certain roles, they've always been going for IIMs and IITs, and they will continue to do it. But that's like this, right? For this, they go to rest of the industry, and that will also continue. Right? So in that sense, that's where the market is. Past few years, I have worked managing software admin teams. Right. So Sandeep, this does not really give me sufficient input to help you. Maybe having another detailed discussion with our tech team will help. Primarily, I think you have to see how you want to take your career forward. Right? This is something you've been doing till date. How do you want to take your career forward, and how much plunge you are willing to make, right? Because I think that's where it stands. Sometimes when we want to jump into programming, or we want to jump into a tool like SAS, or we want to do analytic techniques based on, we feel that, we can leverage our current skills and take it forward. So based on that, we need to make a decision. And if we decide, because I know quite a few people who just jump into a programming language and do it so well, and then jump into machine learning. Because you ask your peers and colleagues who are actually software folks, how many of them would know statistics and machine learning? Zero. Okay. Until somebody is jumping specifically into data scientists, the programmers are not going to know it either. The advantage is when the programmers decide to jump into it, they know how to program, and then they learn that. Right? So you have to see where do you play and when do you play. If some of the programmers who are doing a lot of work in Java are not going to jump into data analytics for next 5 years, imagine the kind of length of time you have to surpass everybody in the programming field. Right? If you pick up R and go deep dive, become a data scientist, there's nobody who can beat you in a few years, because you would have completely understood how to do all aspects of data analytics and understood the machine learning algorithms and tuning and playing all that. Rutul, I think you have your question in two parts, because right now all the question I see is all Python, so I'm not sure what you mean. If you can retype. I want to go into finance industry, so I would completely tell you, if you're willing to jump into deep code data analytics, do SAS. If you want to, do what you're doing much better, do analytic techniques. Because if you're into finance industry and you pick up to, SAS as a tool, banking, finance, insurance, it's a very, very strong play there. Okay. Put some light on Hadoop big data and how it is becoming different from SAS or Python. Please tell about machine learning. Sure. Sazib, so you ask a very good question. So let me tell you. Data and data science, these machine learning. So what does machine learning help you do? Right? Basically, it helps you build models. So let's say that you're trying to predict something, right? You're trying to predict, let's continue the example of Uber. You're trying to predict that where in the city you want to station most of your drivers and around what time, right? You build that model and you see that your model has 65% accuracy. You have built that predictive model and based on one of your regression techniques, right? And you have tested that. And now you want to improve that to 75%. Okay? So you're going to keep working, revisiting your machine model, work with more training data, work with more testing data so that you can increase it to 70%. Right? So now here in this case, there is a set of data we are talking about of cab drivers, traffic, location, blah, blah, blah. Right? If this data was to blow up a lot more, and one is not able to curtail and do it, like if you run that algorithm, you test it and you run it and it takes 2 days, 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days to perform that operation and come back, it's of no, really you're losing a lot of time and energy and not getting your benefits, right? And sometimes it will just fail, it will not be able to even pull the query, right? Then is when you need a big data platform. So now when you come to, now you shift the industry and I will take you to the social industry. Now if you look at Facebook every day is, a lot of businesses are spending huge amount of their marketing budgets advertising on Facebook, right? Why are they putting in amount of money? Because Facebook helps them target their customers very, very accurately. This location, this interest, this gender, this experience, these interests, right? Now you can imagine the Facebook data is huge. It will not be able to run it on a small cluster and stuff. It needs big data technologies. And in fact, that's where a lot of this was born out of Google, Facebook, Yahoo, because they were the ones who were crunching the biggest amount of data. So what happens, Hadoop as a platform came in where it was aggregating the commodity hardware so that it creates those clusters and people are able to do those computations on it. Okay. Now, on that, when you want to do next level of machine learning algorithms to do these predictions, say for Facebook to align this marketing, it needs to apply statistics, right? So the technology is different, but it needs to apply it. So now when you come to Hadoop and it uses MapReduce programming, or it uses an own scripting called Pig, or it uses Hive, which is a SQL query. Now when you move to the next engine, the Spark processing system, which works on near real-time data and real-time data, there you have a lot of machine learning libraries which are available in R, Python, Java, all of these, right? And you apply your same machine learning concepts on that very, very large data. Okay, so the differentiation is SAS, R, and Python are programming tools. They are not platforms. Hadoop and Spark are platforms which allow you to process large amount of data. You still need programming languages to do it, whether it is Java, whether it is R or Python, right? SAS in itself is a huge software which works with large data and has extremely matured SAS modeling techniques, because it's been there for years and it is being used by the entire finance, insurance, healthcare, pharma industry, and more industries, but clearly them. So I hope I answered your question, Shajit. Otherwise, do ask me again. That question is very, very good, because one needs to understand that how data analytics and this big data, how it fits in. MS SQL. So SQL is one of the very useful tools. You have data, you bring it out, you do some filtering, you do some stuff, and you have a data to do some work. Now after that, you obviously need to use either some BI tools, so like Power BI and stuff, and that's why analytic techniques helps you do that. Or you apply then you apply the programming modules over SQL to do further work. So SQL in itself helps you pull data. So Samakya, you've just written MS SQL, so I don't know what's your question, but that's what I would say. Divya, I think I have answered your questions. Priyanka, what is the possibility of getting job on the basis of SaaS? Priyanka, we do see there's quite a bit of market and opening in SaaS, and especially in these industries, and that's exactly the reason why we have this in the offering. So I would encourage you to go ahead and do a little bit of research, do it on Naukri, on Indeed, on all these job sites, so that you can see what kind of work people are doing in SaaS and what kind of requirements are coming in. Yeah. Siri is asking, what about using R for advanced machine learning, or do you recommend SaaS? Oh, R was born out of statisticians, right? Right from the beginning. R doesn't have generic programming language modules, right? It won't have a programming module like say Python would have to go and create a web application, right? R doesn't have all that feature. What R has is very, very clearly very advanced machine learning libraries. All its libraries are around either data slicing, dicing, right? Creating vertex, creating matrices, and then using that data to build your models. So all machine learning modules are available in R and are available in SAS. SAS statistics modeling tool. So as I explained, SAS and R both were born out of statistics. So that is what they were meant to do. That is what they are doing. They are not general purpose. They were not written by software programmers to do everything under the sun. They explicitly do this, and they do it very well, advanced, right? Devanshu, I want to learn all the courses in the poll. Will that be possible? Devanshu, absolutely, that's possible. So as you discuss with the sales, we have a package which makes it easy. All I would say is, Devanshu, do it one by one. Keep really getting good into one, then move on to the next, right? I personally, coming from the software experience, I discourage people kind of doing too many things together, because when you learn something, you need to apply it reasonably enough to do it. So spread it out, but yes, take a package which is so that you get you get price and value for your money. Yeah. Anil Kumar, you have a question. Yeah, so Anil Kumar, I'm just answering to the questions as I'm reading them. They're the questions, I can see them and I'm responding to them. So there's nothing else. What will be the duration of the live project? So we have assignments every week, like every time you learn, you apply it, and the assignment will have a data set and what you do with it. And then the live project in itself is 3 weeks, where then you apply end to end. There's a question from Arpit, recent batch graduate from computer science, familiar with Python. Will the course help me in my career? Oh, absolutely, yes. For you, picking up Python, CS background, Python, and making sure that you learn the data analytics end to end will definitely give you a very good start in the career. Right from, as you go and apply and you talk, if you're able to demonstrate and pitch your application of what you have learned, you'll be forerunner in picking up those jobs. Now there's a question from Rohit, whether the transition is possible, what should be the process as everybody needs experience in the day for hiring, and how can I just train with ATL? Yeah, I tried to answer this question, Rohit, earlier. This question is, it's generic to the industry. When any of us cross-skill ourselves, move our skills together, how does it work? It needs a lot of effort from us. It's, you know, these journeys are never easy. It takes a lot of effort, and people who do it, they are the ones, you know, I don't know how many of you have heard of that phrase, who moved my cheese, right? So it's better we create our stuff, our skill, and find our job before our cheese gets moved. Right? I mean, I moved into so many different careers, and every time there was a humongous period in which I was completely out of my comfort zone, completely challenged. I had to do a lot of demonstrating to get, you know, in front of the client, even though, you know, I'm moving a total number of experience. However, every time I you know, come up, because I'm, you know, you're that much more senior, you're expected to demonstrate that much more value, so you have to very quickly ramp up. So Rohit, there's no easy answer to it. These are you know, challenges which we take ourselves in our lives, and we have to do it. And that is what the industries demand and expect out of it. Because, you know, we're seeing in the IT industry, it's just shifting so hard, and people are being, if the people who are not picking up their reskills themselves, they are just being, you know, moved around very hard. Where I can do online project, Kaggle, Kaggle. There is, you know, people put up a lot of open source secure data. Industries come and put up their data, their competitive data, their synthetic curated data, and, you know, you can do a lot of work. Karthik, you come from testing skills, and you have good Python, and you have healthcare and retail domain. Yeah, I would say moving towards Python is really, really strong for you. Absolutely. And you can, you know, you can decide if you want to take forward your testing competency. You can specifically build that, because, you know, machine learning models, they need to be tested, trained, tuned, right? So if you get a very strong hang on your machine learning, the models, and then testing and tuning it, you'll be a great, you know, you'll be able to apply a lot of things which, you know, developers, just being developers, don't do. They don't as much focus on the quality of it, which you can do. So it's all about, you know, how you apply your experience. Do you teach Python from scratch? It is advisable to learn Python in depth and pursue data analytics. So Sandeep, we do take just 2 weeks to do the, you know, primary Python programming and data types. It is not enough for some, you know, somebody who's never done programming, this is not enough. But somebody who's done programming using other languages, then, you know, you just kind of get the syntax, the concepts, the main data types, and you move away. You move ahead, right? So Sandeep, if you come from programming language, I think you're absolutely okay. But if you don't come from any, then I would say, you know, immediately you have 2 weeks to the course, spend 2 weeks, really get your basic fundamental data types. That's all, right? List, dictionary, these are the only things you get. No, Python is a vast multi-purpose programming language. Please do not try to go and, you know, go all over, learn everything to do data analytics, right? You need to build it on the go, and slowly and steadily. What you want to focus in getting your primary syntax, language, and your data types, right? List, dictionary, vector, matrices, these things you should clearly understand. What language, R or Python, is better to start off for easy understanding of data analytics? Being a programmer, I would say Python. Being a non-programmer or coming from stats, math background, I would say R. But that's my personal opinion. Talk to, you know, a few more people if you like. I have done my BE in computer science. I know the basic of programming. I want to make my career in IT. What do you start with, R or Python or SAS? I do not have knowledge of stats. I have learned derivatives, right? So, you know, your profile is pretty much a profile which we expect a lot of our students to have. So don't worry. We make sure that when you get started, as we help you to apply stats, we make sure you understand the 101 of stats, right? So don't worry on that front. Whether R or Python or SAS, you know, based on the things that I have told you, you take a decision. If you want to become a multi-purpose programmer in your career, so being a computer science student, go for Python, right? Would you suggest analytics to persons with 12 years experience? So Raj Kumar, one very important thing is, if you want, you know, if you're starting your career and you see that you're going to focus being a data scientist and really deep into it, pick up R, because R is extremely advanced programming language for data analytics. So you have to decide, you want to take a multi-purpose programming language career, or you want to be a focused data scientist. Okay. Will you suggest analytics to a person with 12 years experience and currently without a job or domain knowledge? How will analytics course in short? Sandeep, I would say, these are a little bit of risks we take in our life. When we're at a junction where we want to make a switch, where we want to learn something, we have to decide. It's a risk, right? Whatever path we choose at this point, there is some risk associated. There's no guarantee saying that, okay, do this and you're done. There has to be some risk. Now, when you measure the risk, you see that the data analytics industry is somewhere where all the industries, 2 years back, did not have a separate data analytics department and a data analytics team. Now, if you look at it, almost all the industries already have a head who are forming teams, right? Who are starting to form teams, who have formed a little bit of team and expanding. So if you get into it now, you have a higher chance. Right? So I let you look at the industry, look at the jobs around, look at, go look up on LinkedIn what kind of data analytics job people wear, so that you understand where it is. Okay. Is R hard to understand? As I said, because it was grown out of statistics and mathematicians, it's been made as simple, because it's not the programmer's world. It's been made really simple. Can you put some light on Hadoop big data and how it is being different? Am I repeating the question? Because I thought I answered. Shazib, please let me know if I have answered your question. Resume will itself not be picked if we show no experience in the analytics. Rohit, you have to make sure that you are able to demonstrate very good projects having done with on kind of inside a whole, and also on open source projects like Kaggle. Most of the people pick up their people through competitions, through Kaggle, through people who are able to demonstrate very well. I have some experience in Python. I'll go for data analytics using it. Am I capable to do it in Python? Okay, I think I understand, Roger, what your question is, that if you learn data analytics using R, and will you be able to learn it using Python yourself? I would say absolutely yes. Yes, my answer would be an affirmative. Learn it using R. You'll get the entire end-to-end concepts sorted out, and you'll be a data analyst. And then you have a second programming language which and you just have to pick up those libraries and apply those same things. So yeah, big green to you. Swati, I have done base SAS. I'm searching for job as a fresher. What should be my job profile as a programmer or analyst? It would be as an analyst, Swati. You should be looking for your jobs as an analyst, specifically in SAS. Yep. Will you teach SQL? I have basic knowledge of SQL. Well, so we don't really teach SQL in our R and Python. We do teach you the SQL package to be used. We expect you to know a little bit of SQL if you come in the programming languages. In analytic techniques using Excel, Power BI, and SAS, we do introduce you to SAS because, to SQL, because we want to make sure that you are able to pull data from different sources to do work. Is MS in data analytics worth to do? Dhaval, yes. I would say yes. Data analytics and data scientists is founded in a lot of strong, fundamentals, concepts, and application. So that's a choice you can make. What is the scope for SAS visual analytics? So, so SAS, as far as I understand SAS, I wouldn't say that the strongest part of it is visualization for SAS. The strongest point of SAS is really stats modeling, right? Doing all the cleaning, preparing of data, and modeling of data. Those are the strongest assets. But I don't think I have your answer, Swati. I am not aware specifically SAS Visual Analytics, what kind of, how much work gets done there. So you'll have to do a little bit of search, or you can talk to a team separately and we can help you find that. Currently working as technical lead, should I start with Arc and gradually learn Python and SAS and next year? Oh yeah, absolutely. You'll see a lot of companies, they operate in all these. So you start with one, and as you go, you have grown yourself, and you'll see, right? Based on where that work is leading to, whether it is leading you to learn more programming language, or is it learning you to learn different kind of machine learning models, or is it asking you to learn more big data technologies, right? So based on that you can decide, or you can if you want to do it and build a super solid resume with all skills, you can do it one after the other. But I generally prefer, my personal reference is, do one, learn it well, apply it, and then learn the next one. So I like the way you are asking the question. Yes, that is right. I would like to learn Excel and later move to R. Can you tell me the courses? Oh, absolutely, Mrinal. I think this is a very good way, very good approach. Learn analytic techniques in Excel and Power BI, and right after that you can pick up using R. Right? So you'll be signing up for 2 courses. Let IT industry is kind of saturated currently. How much saturated do you think data science industry is in India? Rutul, a good question, but I wish I had a wand to figure that out. I don't think we are using the word saturation yet, because right now people are not getting the skills. People are looking for skills. There are not enough people who know machine learning, because it's mostly the IT programmers who are moving to it and they lack that. So everybody is trying to skill right now. Talking to teams across different industry, and everybody is in the skilling learning phase right now. Yeah. So, but you're right, it could reach saturation very quickly because it's extremely hot. And if a lot of data scientists come out, and they start to grow themselves in the right way, it may become saturated fairly quickly. So it's better to get in now, is what I would say. Finalist careers, do we have to know both programming and data visualization tools? So I would say that, Renu, people who do visualization only and alone are mostly the business insights, business analyst jobs, where somebody else has prepared all the data, you got it in, and now you're mostly focused on doing different visualizations to figure out how do you get insights out of that data, right? That's those advanced visualizations. However, as you're doing your programming and doing exploratory and analysis, building models, you need to keep visualizing data, because without it, it will be very hard for you to build your models and test it. So you need to do that level of visualization, which all programming languages, everything they're talking about has that visualization as part of the course. So there are 2 different ways to look at visualization. One is as part of the job, to get to a model, to build it, to test it. And B is where you demonstrate value and insights to the business. So that is what you do in Excel, that is what you do in Power BI, that is what you do in Tableau. Oh, absolutely. I mean, all our educators are in the industry, right now, are working with R. So they are data scientists in R. So yeah. You have to trust me. We won't run this course. I would just withdraw it. Why would I run a course if then it's not used in the industry? You have to realize that. Okay, I'm an engineer. I have done SAS. I think, Swati, I answered that. Okay, looks like we have covered all the questions. Oh, okay, this one I haven't taken. I've been into education industry, managing training and development and collections. I have never done a programming. Currently, I want to learn data and application in HR domain. Oh, Sanmitra, so you really want to be sure if you want to learn a programming language. That is something I really encourage you to do. Because in HR, if you want to do good data analytics, analytic techniques in Excel and Power BI is a very strong tool for you. If you are absolutely ready to be a programmer, then jump in and learn R and do data analytics, right? But I would recommend and I would encourage that you really, in your industry, in your education industry, if you are good at data analytics, and for instance, if you came to me and you said that, I'm good, like I need, I ask all my teams to do this for me, right? Because if I'm offering a course, I need to know how are my students doing it, if they're doing these assignments, how well they are doing it. Based on all this data, tell me that, how do I improve the course? How do I, all these are kind of questions I'm asking. So if you were to come to me and show that, you can answer all these questions for me through data and apply the right techniques, there is a big chance I'd look at you, and there's a big chance a lot of other education companies will look at you, right? Programming, you have to be very sure of it. As a HR professional, if you're willing to get into programming, remember, if you're, you must be doing at least 4 to 6 hours of programming every day when you start learning. Otherwise, you're not going to get value out of what you're learning. Packages are offered to freshers. Sumit, please go look up at PayScale. I generally stay away from answering PayScale questions. It's a very, very, random set of data. So, look at these companies which like PayScale, which do give us that data, right, out of their research. What all topics will be covered? So using R, so you'll cover all the packages, how to explore the data. You look at SQL packages. You look at then you'll get into all the machine learning packages, linear regression, random forest, everything. So all the packages which you need to do actual data analytics, which is used in the industry, everything you're going to do. And there is a brochure with a pretty good detail, which you should be able to get through our tech team. What is the market for machine learning? Which language would be the machine? Also, all these three courses cover strong machine learning, because that's what we are teaching. I mean, the course would make you well aware of all the phases which we have seen of data analytics, from data cleaning, preparation, what tools you need, and then get to machine learning. So all the languages, R, Python, SAS, all of them. Will you teach Excel? So there is one course called Analytic Techniques using Excel and Power BI. So if you sign up for that course, you learn it, and then you need to, if you want to pick up along with it another language, so you pick up 2 of those courses. Best tool for visualization, there are like 15, 20 tools, and each of them will pitch you that why they are the best. I don't see myself, helping to market any of them, but there are lots of them. Power BI, Tableau, Quickly, Dashboard. There's, the other SQL related tools. So there are a lot of them. Okay, so I think we're ready to close this session. I would just leave these dates for you so that, this is the one which, analytic techniques, this is the one which is starting tomorrow. So if you want to start and don't want to miss the first session, you want to make sure you enroll today, right? And SAS is starting 12th, 19th August, and R is in September, because we just finished doing the revised curriculum, and we are pushed all of them. All our courses, we did a refresh because we have been talking to the industry, and based on those inputs, we have done a refresh for all of them. And of course, the way it works is 3 hours per week. So, Saturday, Sunday, it's 3-hour session. You must be doing your weekly assignments, right? There's no point learning something when we are not applying it. And lifetime access to updated content and videos, this is very key. Once you're with us, you make sure that you keep learning along with us. You get to participate in our discussions. You get to participate in anything which we host. Right? That's a strong point. Okay then, so I will bid goodbye to all of you, and thank you so much. Bye-bye.